What is up to all my G's out there? Your boy OG coming at you with another one. So, you already know my dogs are in it. How Kirby Smart's coaching. We're peaking at the right time. Georgia Bulldog peaking at the right time. In Georgia Tech, we got a tough opponent against Georgia Tech. They're a good team. They play hard all year. This stuff is unfortunate that they lost to Pitt. But my Georgia Bulldogs are playing this week, so we got to get a win. Got to go in. We're still in the playoffs regardless, but regardless of that, we got to get a win. We got to end the season strong. Got to get a win here. Win out. That's important. So let's get into it.
So with that,
they already started the ranks.
8-3. What a great job, Brent Brennan, by Capital One, Arizona. After its win, 8-3. What a great job, Brent Brennan's
Looking
done.
at it.
Tulane's in there.
Georgia Tech's at 23.
Jumps into the ranking.
That's
and I
interesting.
Think Tulane, you feel really good. You got Charlotte this week.
Real
You take care of
interesting.
Charlotte. You're in line to host the American Championship game and get the spot designated for the Group of Five. I think if you're John Summerall on your team, you got to feel really good about where you are.
They'll
right
be
now.
taking on Texas
John
Tech.
Summerall, of course, the subject of a lot of conjecture and speculation about where his job might be. And Rhett Lashley's team played in the ACC championship game a year ago. Pittsburgh's still alive. SMU, if they win, they'll get back to that ACC championship game. Got a game on the road against Cal. Let's look at 20 through 15.
Pittsburgh is even over them. They're 8-3.
Arizona State goes up 5 spots.
Texas went
out
up
of the
one
Big 12.
spot,
That can
I
help
see.
people's resumes, and you see USC slipping a little bit.
I was interested to see what was happening with USC, taking their third loss of the season, going on the road to play Oregon. They had a chance. We talked about their ability to get back in the race and into the playoff. Well, they had a chance at Oregon, lost that game. This week they play UCLA. I don't know that will help them. This might be their ceiling, but USC has played some really good football. They got a win against Michigan. They got to win against Iowa. We just don't see any way for them to get higher than 17.
And I want you to keep an eye there on Virginia at 18 because Virginia can win its way into the ACC championship game. They've got Virginia Tech coming up. Let's continue on the rankings at number 15. The Michigan Wolverines. Now the question becomes is if Michigan could upset Ohio State, regardless of whether it makes it into the Big Ten championship game, could they get close to an at-large?
This intrigues me. They just jumped Texas. They went up 3 spots, went past Texas. Bryce Underwood coming off a really good game. He had 2 touchdowns. They were 12
Michigan,
or 14 on
if they
third
beat
down,
Ohio
on the
this
road,
year,
get an impressive
they will
victory.
definitely get
And the
in.
whole thing
Ohio
with
will
this
still be
at
in.
15,
I believe
are
they'll
in
just
position,
fall 6
if they
spots.
beat the Buckeyes, even without the Big Ten title game,
Wow.
getting in this playoff
What
race.
you doing all that about?
That is
asking
one of
a question.
I mean, I would tell you, we're going to see potentially a glut of 2 lost teams. The committee's going to have its hands full if that happens. And that's why they play the rivalry games. 14. Vanderbilt still hanging around. They've got Tennessee.
Yeah, go on the road to play Tennessee. And Vanderbilt looked really good against Kentucky with Pavia account for 5 touchdowns in that game. And I would say, watching Vandy in that game, that was their most explosive game. We saw Vandy a few games ago, didn't look great against Texas. I would say that was their best game against Kentucky. If they can go on the road and get a big win at Tennessee, they'll be in the conversation.
Sitting right there on the edge. Number 13.
Vanderbilt.
There's the answer. Dusty. Dusty was asking about Utah and Miami. Utah.
Georgia Tech would have won. They would have definitely went up to 14 or
they
12.
Spot at number 12. There's the U. So Miami's at 12. Now remember, because of the conference champions and where the ACC is ranked, Miami's unlikely to get into the ACC championship game. The cut line is probably going to be at 10.
It's probably going to be right there, but if you're Miami, you have to do to Pitt what Notre Dame did to Pitt, which is beat them resoundingly. Let everyone know who the better team is, because if we get to a point, and I hope we don't, but if we get to a point where we're comparing Notre Dame and Miami or in this cluster of 2 lost teams, we're going to look at common opponents, and Pitt is going to be one.
Well, the other one is Stanford.
Yes.
And Notre Dame has Stanford this weekend. And, after taking down the sturdy Golden Bears, it might be that the Cardinal thinks the season is complete. So we'll see. So Miami is inching its way back into contention.
This is most likely going to be
There's BYU.
We're coming up to the
BYU
last week of who's going to be in and out.
Flying the ointment. They should get plenty of consideration
Since
as an at-large team.
we're a week
But
away
also,
from
if
that.
they win, they'll get to the Big 12 championship game, and they can just win their way in as one of the 5 highest-ranked conference champions.
And if BYU takes out Texas Tech, and Texas Tech is firmly play in. We start talking about bid stealers. All of a sudden, even at 10, maybe you're not protected. Could get very, very interesting.
You see all these teams, particularly down to 14 and 15 if Michigan wins. If you're a basketball fan and we're between basketball games, these are the bubble teams. Right here. These teams are on the wrong side of the bubble at the moment. And then at number 10, the last team in the field at the moment is Alabama. So Alabama's on the right side of the bubble. They finish up at Auburn in primetime Saturday night. Number 9. There is Notre Dame. So now Notre Dame passes eye test. Eye test Notre Dame, resume Alabama. Right now, that's where they stand.
And this committee has told us from the beginning, this is an eye test committee. You don't have to like it.
Okay, bro.
But they have...
I'm just gonna skip this because, like, again, I don't want to get copyrighted or nothing. Very no.
Look better than them in the country.
I don't care about that.
I agree, but let's also concede that nobody's looked worse than Syracuse.
No doubt about it.
I mean, they don't have a quarterback right now. You know?
Yeah.
Number 8, there's the Oklahoma Sooners.
And I think if you're Oklahoma, you have LSU coming your place in Norman with an opportunity to go 10-2. You can't get in the SEC title game. And if you beat LSU, I think this pretty much secures them a spot in the playoff. It's not 100%, but it's going to be pretty close. John Mateer, can they get some consistency?
I mean, Oklahoma is pretty much
moving in the right direction.
They're pretty much just about locked
in.
in
For a lot of it.
I think it could,
yeah, they beat LSU. Yeah, they'll definitely be in.
Game, not just in the playoff.
It would be really fascinating to see the head-to-head if Alabama can beat Auburn and get to the SEC championship game, where that would all stack up at the end too, and how they would view that. Number 7.
Number 7,
Ole Miss slips a spot after Oregon's impressive win against USC. Ole Miss, Dusty, you're going to call the Egg Bowl.
Oh yeah,
Rebels
they're now basing this off the AP poll.
Drama going on that potentially could be an issue too, depending on what the Rebels do in the last regular season game. Number 6. Oregon. Wondered if they, might jump all the way up to 5, but they move up a spot after an impressive performance against USC.
And 5, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, hanging firm, going to Morgantown, win that game off to the Big 12 championship. And one would think if they win that game, they've solidified a bid regardless of what happens in the conference title game. Number 4, we presume, once again, will be Georgia. Bulldogs.
Georgia,
have to have things fall their way. They're finished with their SEC schedule to get into the conference title game. At number 3, Texas A&M. They're at Texas. If they win, they'll get in the SEC championship game. They lose, they will likely fall out of the tiebreaker depending on the other games. Indiana is 2, and the Buckeyes are number 1 once again. So you take all of this and you put it in the bracket based on the current rankings. Now, it is so delicious to think about that 6-11 game of Mario.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, bro. This is something. Now it's pretty much spiced up. Bro, if only it started today. We got interesting matchups, dude. Interesting matchups. So I'm telling you this, bro. Finish out the season, get a win. We're locking our spot for the bye. Now I can care less if we get the bye or not. But I think if we skip the SEC championship, just go ahead and get to the playoffs and stuff. Georgia rallies and whatnot, do their thing, get to the national championship, win it all. They can go for. I believe Georgia has a shot for the national championship. But we'll take it one game at a time. We'll have to focus on Georgia Tech, finish the season. Then we focus on playoffs. Whatever opportunity comes our way, we gotta snatch it. We gotta have it. Gotta have it. Can't let it slip away. Not for a second. But look at these matchups, man. Look at this. You have Tulane and Texas Tech still. Then you have Notre Dame and Oklahoma. But then Miami going to Oregon. And Miami has been playing a little bit better. Up against Oregon, though, it's gonna get shaky. Since they're going to Oregon, I think Oregon, they're gonna be competitive as hell. They're gonna be competitive as hell. I see Oregon winning that. Now, then you got, this is a good one. You got Alabama versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss played as hard this year. They played Georgia really hard, man. They stuck to it. Georgia got the win, though. Because Ole Miss is a challenging top team. They're a good team, a really good team. And especially since they're at home against Alabama, That will be something. I'm saying this, bro. That will be something. That will be something. Okay, here we go. Predictions. So, you have Tulane versus Texas Tech. I have Texas Tech probably winning that one. Notre Dame versus Oklahoma. No Oklahoma how good their whole scheme is. I think Oklahoma could get the win. In case Notre Dame does, I already know they're not getting past Ohio State. And then we have Miami versus Oregon. I think I'm going to give it to Oregon, not because of home field advantage, but because how they seem like they've been playing more competitive than Miami. Even though I won't admit, even the Big Ten and Big 12 don't play as much, but still. Then you have Alabama versus Ole Miss. Alabama could get the win, but they have struggled so much on the road. Which is why I think I'm going to have to give this one to Ole Miss on this one. As much as I want to see, much as I think that would be good if Georgia Alabama went to the national championship and we beat them. But unfortunately, knowing this, and it really depends on how this week goes, because we got to finish this Georgia Tech, so let's finish the season. And of course, Alabama has to go on the road to Auburn. Auburn, that's a trap game. Honestly, it was a challenging team, especially when we went there and played them, and it was not easy beating them. Right, we had to dig in deep. Then you got Ole Miss versus Indiana, along with Oregon versus Texas A&M, and Oklahoma versus Ohio State and Texas Tech versus Georgia. Okay, Texas Tech versus Georgia. I know Texas Tech, they got a pretty challenging team, but however, I believe Georgia is just a better style, arousing team. I'm going with Georgia on that one. Then you have Oklahoma versus Ohio State. Ohio State. Oregon versus Texas A&M. I believe Texas A&M might dig in deep and block it, beat that team. Ole Miss versus Indiana. I'm just gonna give this one to Ole Miss because Indiana has not really shown us. Georgia versus Ohio. I'm gonna give Georgia the upset against Ohio in the semifinals. Then we got literally Ole Miss versus Texas A&M. I believe that Texas A&M could pull it off against Ole Miss. And then you have Georgia and Texas A&M for the national championship. I'm going to give it to my dogs. So, let's go, Georgia. And
Cristobal against Oregon, but Miami is going to have to get an at-large bid.
That's how it is,
people.
people.
Likelihood, so that spot, or the 11 or 12, would likely be taken by the ACC champion, and the Hurricanes still fighting for an at-large.
Okay,
you see the way the rest of it looks.
Please.
Texas Tech at home against Tulane, Oklahoma, Notre Dame. That would be fun. And then Alabama at Ole Miss in an SEC game if it were to fall that way. So that is that's how it looks.
Okay,
Change at the top. So a couple of switch spots there with Oregon moving up a spot.
You know, Reese, we've been kind of going back and forth talking about the two laws, Notre Dame and Miami. I think we got to expand this. I think to me, it's fascinating. When you get to the two-loss team, let's look at 8, 9, 10. You look at Oklahoma, Notre Dame, and Alabama. And I realize Alabama has an opportunity to get to the SEC championship game. But how do you break those teams down? Like when you look at 8, 9, and 10, those two-loss teams, the committee, I don't envy them in the position they're in with the amount of two-loss teams that we potentially could have. How do you differentiate between those teams?
It's very difficult. Michigan intrigues me. They went up, they jumped Texas this week. They moved up 3 spots. And to me, that puts them in striking distance. If they were to beat Ohio State this week, how high could they climb? How real are they in the conversation? If you're Vanderbilt, if you're Utah, you really need help in front of you, right? I mean, that's just kind of the reality of it, and as does Miami. But to answer your question, I don't know. Like we are heading to a scenario that is next to impossible for this committee to differentiate some of these two-loss teams, and you're not going to be able to make everybody happy. And teams that have a legitimate reason to be in this playoff are going to be left at home.
You're not really concerned about Michigan beating Ohio State. That's not a concern. Hey, listen.
Wow.
Miami moving up, though, that's in the past.
So Heather Denich is with us now. Heather, as you look at that, what
To have. Can they get close enough to Notre Dame to get them in the same grouping when we're comparing these teams? Very interesting move to see them move up one.
So Heather Denich is with us now. Heather, as you look at that, what are you hearing from inside the committee room about this evaluation as Miami gets closer and closer to Notre Dame in the rankings?
Well, they are in the same conversation now when you look at it at the ranking as BYU, Alabama, Miami, and Notre Dame. They're all together there. But I want to caution everybody that there's not a particular spot in the ranking that Miami needs to get to all of a sudden have this head-to-head.
I don't really care about that. If y'all like it, comment, subscribe. That's going to be it. Peace out to all my niggas. See you in the next one.